Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. We are going to trace the architecture of reality itself, starting from the foundational, unbreakable rules of physics, all the way up to the breathtaking, macroscopic complexity of human biology. We're going to look at how we measure the universe, how life organizes itself at a microscopic level, and ultimately, how all of that scales up to the tissues and systems that keep us alive.
Here's our roadmap for the journey. We're going to start with the tools of physics, move right into mastering scale, check out the cellular universe and meiosis, and finally, wrap things up with human tissues, digestion, and cardiovascular health risks. Let's get into it.
All right, Section 1, the tools of physics, the true foundations of nature.
It's kind of mind-blowing, but nature's insanely complex architecture, it's all built on just 7 unexplainable fundamental physical quantities. Think about things like length, measured in meters, mass in kilograms, and time in seconds. These are the absolute rock-solid building blocks of measurement. You can't break them down, and you can't explain them using any other physical quantity. They simply are. And the dynamic here perfectly captures how these tools work together. You've got your fundamental quantities, your raw ingredients, on one side, and derived quantities on the other. See, derived quantities like volume and density, they don't just magically exist on their own. We actually calculate them mathematically by combining our fundamental tools. Like if you want to find velocity, you just derive it using length and time. Simple as that. Moving on to Section 2, mastering scale and measurement. Now, true precision requires some pretty ingenious instruments. Enter the vernier caliper. It's this incredibly accurate tool for grabbing internal and external distances. And using it is basically a 4-step process. First up, you place the object firmly right between the jaws. Second, you note the main scale reading just before the 0 line on that sliding vernier scale. Third, you find the exact line on the vernier scale that perfectly matches up with a line on the main scale. And finally, just add those 2 readings together. Boom! It takes tiny, hard-to-see distances and gives you a highly accurate, readable number. But what happens when our measurements get way, way bigger than what we can hold in a caliper? Think about it too, literally followed by 30 zeros. That right there is the raw, unformatted mass of our sun in kilograms. I mean, could you imagine trying to use that massive number in an equation without making a typo? It would be a nightmare. And yeah, that's exactly where scientific notation steps in and elegantly saves the day. Instead of writing out 30 zeros and losing your mind, we just write a coefficient, in this case 2.00, multiply it by a base of 10, and tack on an exponent of 30. We take the absolutely unimaginable scale of the universe and shrink it down into a neat little package, making complex calculations actually doable.
Shifting gears now to Section 3, the cellular universe and microscopic structure.
When we zoom in, we discover a microscopic world that's honestly just as structured as those strict laws of physics. Our cells are completely packed with these highly specialized little structures called organelles. You've got chloroplasts, those green plastids making plants green. You've got leucoplasts, which are totally colorless. Animal cells have these things called centrioles, fascinating little tube-like structures made of exactly 27 microtubules that organize cell division. Oh, and chromoplasts. These hold red, orange, or yellow pigments. It's actually the chromoplast that literally decides the specific color of a beautiful orchid flower. How cool is that? To really grasp how all these organelles interact, there's an analogy I absolutely love. Think of the Golgi body. It receives proteins from the rough endoplasmic reticulum, modifies them, packages them up into little vesicles, and then ships them exactly where they need to go. Calling the Golgi body the post office of the cell hits the nail on the head. It just makes these dense, incredibly complex cellular mechanics so relatable and easy to visualize. Which brings us to Section 4, the mechanics of meiosis and cellular division. Let's watch how this builds through this incredibly complex phase we call prophase 1. It is so intricate that it actually happens in 5 distinct microstages. It kicks off with leptotene, where the chromatin threads out. Next, in zygotene, the homologous chromosomes actually find each other and pair up. Then, as they move through pachytene and diaplotene, they stay locked together, until finally, in diakinesis, they cross over and exchange their genetic material. It's an incredibly choreographed microscopic dance. But here's the thing. Cellular biology isn't just about creation and division. Sometimes it's about destruction. And the crucial takeaway here is that cell death isn't always a bad thing. Apoptosis is a strictly programmed process of cell death, and it's absolutely essential for shaping life. For instance, a developing human embryo actually has a tail. Seriously, it is the precise, programmed death of those specific tail cells via apoptosis that deletes it during our multicellular development. Pretty wild, right?
Okay, moving on to section 5, human tissues and digestion. We're getting into macroscopic systems now. When these individual cells group together with a shared purpose, they form tissues. And epithelial tissues are a perfect example of specific design for specific functions. You've got simple columnar tissues lining the female reproductive system and your digestive tract. Stratified cuboidal tissues surround the ducts of your glands, like your salivary glands, and then the stratified squamous tissues. These are made of multiple layers of dead, keratinized cells, and they provide this super tough, waterproof barrier right on the surface of your skin to prevent water and nutrient loss. Those very tissues build some truly incredible macroscopic systems. Take the digestive system, for example, where large, non-diffusible food molecules get broken down. The main star of the show here is the alimentary canal. Just think about the staggering physical scale of this thing for a second. This continuous tube of organs runs from your mouth, through your esophagus, your stomach, your intestines, all the way down to the anus, and it measures about 30 feet or 9 meters long in an adult. That is roughly the length of an entire school bus, just folded up and packed super efficiently right inside your abdomen. And finally, section 6, cardiovascular health risks, lifestyle versus biology. When we look at cardiovascular disorders, medical science objectively breaks the risks down into 2 crystal clear categories. We've got modifiable factors on one hand and non-modifiable factors on the other. Put simply, the stuff we have the power to change and the stuff driven entirely by biology that we just can't. Looking at the modifiable risk factors, one of the biggest culprits is a high-fat diet. This is a direct input right into that massive alimentary canal we were just talking about. When we eat a high-fat diet, it forces the body to process and transport all those excess fats, which heavily impacts our cardiovascular transport system over time. Now, contrast your diet with the non-modifiable factors. These are the ones driven purely by biology and time. For instance, advancing age inherently bumps up your cardiovascular risk. Same goes for biological sex, with males statistically showing higher incidence rates. We cannot change these variables. They're literally hard-coded into our biology. But returning to what we actually can control, we see factors like stress and heavy alcohol consumption. Presenting these neutrally really brings home a vital point. Our internal biological systems, right down to those microscopic cellular structures and tissues, are constantly reacting to and being influenced by our external daily habits. From the strict fundamental laws of physics and the precise measurements of a vernier caliber, all the way up to the programmed death of a cell and the school bus length of your digestive tract, it's all connected. The micro directly shapes the macro. Which leaves me with one final thought to share with you today. Knowing that you are a walking, breathing product of both strict mathematical physics and incredibly complex biology, how do these microscopic and macroscopic forces intersect in your everyday life? And how are you going to choose to take care of that system? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the amazing world around you.